Good morning, everyone. This is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019, and so much going on. The Wanted to give you an update on the solar system that I'm designing and what it's all about. The As a lot of you know, I've had a lot of experience with working with uninterruptible power supplies. And the heartbeat of the uninterruptible power supply is the backup battery. And looking at solar is the first uh, front end is understanding the battery, understanding how the battery charges, and then the potentials that we also have to directly tie into our grid in our grid tie system, and then we can start working on efficiencies and deficiencies and everything. The cool thing about solar is that a solar panel unloaded uh, produces about double the voltage. Okay, and then when you load it up and the amps start to back up in the system, it cuts about in half. And with the advent of the micro grids, micro inverters that you can put on each solar system, of course, you can put those in series where they all hit at the same time and basically tie it directly to your mains power. And that's one of the most inexpensive ways to do that. The great thing about it, when you do it that way, each solar panel array is basically under 20 amps. So your wire size stays about 12 gauge. And then, of course, to help with the efficiency of the copper wire, they use, bigger wire right on through to 10 gauge. However, with working with electricity and AC voltage and DC voltage, you do need to understand that the DC voltage system draws more amps, if you will, than the AC side. In other words, if you have 12 volts and that's converted to AC power, the amperage is pretty much cut in half. So when you're still maintaining DC voltage going to your supply, then instead of doing the normal things with AC power like you would, you run 20 gauge, then basically you run 10 gauge. Okay. So I said 20 gauge, I meant 12 gauge. So to stop all your losses. So the understanding those configurations and what you're doing and busing those systems, where you bus it to control your losses, is the key to good engineering with solar panels. Back in the day, solar panels were basically to directly charge a battery, and they really didn't put voltage regulators in the solar panels during the day. And the way this boils down to is that each cell produces about a half a volt of electricity in each cell. Okay. And the amperage, depending on the size, they're getting a maximum amperage nowadays of about 2.777 amps per cell. So you got a half a volt at 2.77 amps. And so we all know that any of us worked with lead acid batteries, that batteries, even a bank or whatever, 10 amps is about, over longevity, all you really ever want to put into it, and then let the battery's voltage decrease as you're going through that, going through. So what happened back in the day is that they created the 18 cell solar panel, which did 9 volts, and 9 volts is perfect to charge 6 volts of battery. And then for 12-volt batteries, you wanted 18 volts, so the 36 cell was perfect to charge 12 volts. And so then the 36 cell was perfect for charging 24 volts. And I'm saying a little bit backwards, but the 36 volts was perfect. 72 solar cells were perfect to charge 36 volts, and right on through to 72 volts were perfect for 36. Now we have the choice of split cell. And it took me a little while to understand what was going on with this, but actually each panel on a split cell is the perfect size to charge a 48-volt battery bank system. So any way you slice it, that's your choices when you're going through. So I did it backwards, but I'm going to go through, solar cell configurations, losses. They have a 5 amp bus bar that's in most of the solar cell configurations. And so basically I can see an engineer targeting that 10 amp maximum charge rate. And so if you have a 400 watt solar panel that has 144 cells in it, that's going to produce 72 volts at about 10 amps average going across, and that's perfect to charge a 48-volt bank of batteries. And then the 72 cells, which are the full cells, but there's 72 in them, that configuration is perfect to produce 36 volts for 24-volt configurations. And then the 36 solar cell produces 18 volts, so that's perfect for 12-volt batteries. And then an 18 cell solar cell produces 9 volts, and that's perfect for 6 volts batteries. And since I'm optimizing the 48-volt battery system, it's a no-brainer for me to choose the 144 split solar cell system at somewhere around 400 watts of output. And I just wanted to share with you guys that now I understand my original, choice when I started this, and the math that's involved is really very simple, but some of us get, tied up in other areas. So I just wanted to share the update my findings with understanding your choices of solar panels. So if you are planning to do a battery backup, the split cell system is very good. And also, in my opinion, if you're planning on doing other configurations with the micro inverters, that should produce the most with the least resistance. So that's what it all boils down to, is overcoming resistance, where you can use smaller wire size, which is less expensive to install as far as wiring up your units. As we know that voltage overcomes resistance very easily, and these panels are pretty neat nowadays, and it's through that. So I highly recommend working with the energy that a lot of us are working with for the seed energy. That's where you're targeting at, is a good choice is to understand what your end result is. If you want a 12-volt system, then understand why you want a 12-volt system. Okay. If you want a 24-volt system, understand why you want a 24 volt battery backup system. If you want a 36 volt system, 36 volt battery system, then understand your choices with solar. 48, same thing. So that's the way it all boils down to. I have that pretty much written down there for you consider as you do that. Hope this helps you. I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you're having fun, because we are. You have a blessed day, and we'll see you next trip.